Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We got a sign out in front that says so now. We are calm, we are local, we are merging the brands, but I'm still wearing my Cole Roofing hat here this week. And Bill Cole, I want you to know that you gave me a coffee mug many, many years ago. I complained about it in the 99th year of your existence. During the 100th year, you gave me a bigger coffee mug. And I said, that mug's not any good because that mug would get knocked over onto the board. So last week, I only used the new mug maybe once or twice. I saw it as a danger. So last week I had the typical Cole Roofing mug that I have here with Luke Jones one morning, and we were Zooming instead of like doing regular radio. So Zooming means I switch my computers around. So my left hand talked to my right hand talked to my left hand, and my right arm knocked over the Cole Roofing coffee mug with the Royal Farms Kona blend, and I destroyed all my equipment. First time ever that in 30 years that I have been the one that has knocked coffee onto the board. And you know who I blamed for it, Bill Cole? I did not blame Royal Farms for providing the coffee. I did not blame Luke Jones for being a guest and doing it on Zoom. I didn't blame it on Zoom. I blamed it on you because you gave me the mug. You like that?
I saw that coming. I could tell you were kind of setting me up for.
Man, the coffee was around that damn
problem.
Bill Cole is what I said. You know. How are you?
I'm happy to keep your life interesting, right?
Well, my wife's about to bring me some fresh Cole Roofing coffee in my mug, but we're on the weird times, dude. Like, sports are playing. You and I have been getting together privately, not publicly as much, but sports is sort of back, and it was supposed to be like sort of the opiate for the masses, right? That's what we do here at WNST. It's been really, really weird that it has not quelled much of anything, and I don't know that it's taken much of anybody's attention. Hell, the hockey teams are playing like it's a World Cup. They're playing every day at noon. You know, they think the whole world's going to stop for a hockey tournament from ice in a trash bag. It has been something trying to get the country back started, hasn't it?
It's very strange. You know, I've tried a number of times. There's that part of me that totally forgets that it's there now, so I got to remember to go look for it.
And then you don't know whether it's on Mass in 1 or 2.
Well, they make that part pretty easy. I can find it, but then when I turn it on, it's like, oh, this is just a spring training game. I'm probably not going to really tune in. Oh, wait, no, this isn't spring training. There's just no fans. That's all.
Well, Tuesday night, Tuesday morning, there was a hurricane, right? So the hurricane comes through, and I took a picture, and I'm like, oh, I guess they won't get this one in. Then I realized the hurricane's moving like 55 miles an hour. It's like driving, you know, like my grandfather did. And, you know, I'm like, oh, it's already like in Philadelphia, so it's gone. Oh, wow, whoa, it's 1 o'clock. The sun's out. They're going to play. And then about 4:30, they're like, tests aren't back yet. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get this one in. I literally laid down to take a nap at like 7:30, and I put the television on, and the game wasn't on, and I'm like, well, did the tests come in or did they not come in? And then I realized, well, they did come in, but the game was going to start late, so they started at 8:15. And then the Orioles managed 3 hits against the team that doesn't even have major league players on it. Now, you know, we're getting into the point, and I started this in the beginning, Bill, talking about integrity, right? Like that if you go to a restaurant right now and they're open because it's COVID, you could say, well, the service might be a little slow and things might not be normal, but the food still better taste like the food. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to go through it and I got to pay for it and I got to be there, the food's got to taste like the food. And football hasn't even rolled out yet. Baseball does not taste like baseball. I assure you, hockey does not taste like hockey. And then there comes a question like, am I going to really dedicate myself to this knowing that it really has no integrity, that if 14 of the Orioles get sick, they'll just replace them with 14 replacement players. And before you know it, we'll have Shane Falco playing quarterback for the Ravens this year, you know?
Yeah, it remains really strange. I think there's a couple aspects that we're probably missing that I don't really know. Beyond me to recommend a solution, but part of the baseball excitement is, okay, we hit February and you start to get this trickle of info and there's some curiosity. Who's going to be there on opening day?
Who do we trade for?
Yeah, and then you build up an understanding of who the guys are and who you're gonna, who you really want to root for, and and you get these little stories, the underdog story, or the guy who's going to carry the team on his back, and who's our ace, who's our closer. You get all that sort of information, and then when the product comes, it's like, okay, here's what I learned, and here's what I'm rooting for. And then that progresses over time because challenges rise and guys get hurt, or good series develop, or other players start to shine for other teams. And there's just no data. There's no stories around it. The story is like, we hope everybody passes the test so that they can play. Oh, nope, series is canceled. Well, we're going to change the schedule around, and we're going to move this team in there and that team in there. And, well, hold on, it was 2 players and a manager, but now it's 6 players and a manager, and it's because they all went to dinner the night. It's just more of this COVID hitting you in the face. And I think what people really wanted was they wanted an escape, right? Give me an escape for 2 hours, 3 hours in an evening where I don't have to think about all that. And they are unable to provide that currently. And that's, it is what it is, I guess. And we'll probably learn, but this would have been better received in June. All the challenges that existed at the end of July when they kicked off existed in June, and they missed a massive opportunity to capture everyone's attention. Now they're trying to take market share from basketball and hockey and golf and all these things, and it's all just the same, right? It's all the same struggle.
I don't know what market share is anymore, dude. You got 24 hours in the day. Those of us who still have jobs do our work, right? And the rest of it is sort of the thing. We're all discovering something that maybe we didn't know we loved, or we used to love, or we wanted to love, or a TV show we wanted to catch. I would think 6 months into this thing, if you haven't figured out what you love to do yet, you're really in trouble, right? Like Dennis Kolatzis talks about fishing, that was a safe thing to do. Going to a beach, all of us thought, well, you went down to Virginia, I went to North Carolina. Like, if we could be left alone. Those who have boats have been on their boats a lot, right? Because it is distance to some degree, but it is a nice time to find different things you like to do. And if you love to watch baseball on television, if that's your thing, that you love, because you can't go to it. If you love going to the park, that's a totally different experience than sitting and watching Scott Garceau talk to you for 3.5 hours every night. So, and especially with teams that don't have players we know anything about, to your point, not being bought in, all of the typical baseball stuff would be rah, 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 let's root for the home team, or, hey, let's go out to bobblehead night next week and you can't go to the game, or, hey, we'll get tickets for the playoffs. No, you won't. Or we'll go to the parade. No, you won't. So all of that's been taken away. And here comes football trying to fill this space, Bill. And I don't know where the cautionary tale is, and I don't know what it is about this brand of baseball that leaves me not wanting to watch it in August, other than the fact that it feels like it might not count. There might not be an ending to it, right? So that's where the football thing, if you're going to sell me on Chapter 1, you better sell me on the fact that, there's going to be an ending of some kind. And I'm not sure football can convince me of that.
I totally agree. It's why invest my time and energy if it just is it's September and we just have to stop because 75% of the teams are now unable to play because they keep just swapping the disease around.
Or they're Michaels Pearson and C.J. Mosley to say, I'm not playing. I have a health condition. I'm not playing, right? And then there's Mark Andrews who says, well, I have diabetes, but I'm going to play anyway. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa. I'm thinking whoa. Hey, you want to play, that's great, but the pre-existing conditions part of this thing, pretty well borne out by epidemiologists and COVID insiders now who have seen this take over the bodies of otherwise healthy people and ravage it. So, I don't know what to say for the people taking the risk out there to make their money. We're all taking a risk to make money. We're all doing our jobs, right? But seems to be a different kind of gig for me. And I'm blowing the whistle on it a little bit this month because I'm all for sports, Bill. Yeah, I'm a sports guy. I love sports.
Sure.
I'm not understanding what the hell they're trying to do right now. I really don't. Other than make money.
I think you bring up an interesting question around the market share, because the market share Great story I heard one time was about Netflix, and Netflix views their competitor as sleep. So all the things that they've built into their program to keep you from turning the television off and going to sleep is really what they see as their number one competitor. It's crazy to think about it that way, but again, you're talking about a reconnection of the public with all these outdoor activities, because for so long that was the only thing that was available. Like, that's a massive 3-month erosion from an otherwise captive audience, for professional sports. That I don't
want
know
to sit
how,
around and watch television.
I don't know how well they're going to be able to pull that back, because the product that they're offering isn't even the product that we remember. So I don't think they're going to stop going on their boats or fishing or going on the bike rides or taking the hikes and doing all that stuff. I just don't. It's not compelling enough.
I discovered fish in Patterson Park a couple of weeks ago, Bill. Once I realized there were fish in Patterson Park, I thought, what else do I not know about the world? Bill Cole is here. He is with Cole Roofing. We try to fix the world together. How much have you watched? I mean, I haven't talked a lot of sports with sort of a casual guy like yourself who, you love the Orioles and the Ravens, how we know each other, but has any of it moved you or no?
I watched long enough to realize that I don't know anybody on the Orioles, and then I think I spotted Chris Davis at first base, and then I saw him strike out, so I knew it was him. But yeah, I just I don't know. It's just weird. I would never have thought that the fans in the stadium and just the little chatter that goes on, I don't think I would have realized how. You think I would know, because the Orioles played a game to an empty stadium years ago, but I don't think I would have realized how much of an impact that has. And
you sound like Peter Angelo's 25 years ago. I didn't realize the fans were important.
I just wonder how hard it is to actually play, to get excited. And, your team, the teammates are riling each other up, but to not hear, the fans standing up and clapping on a second strike in the ninth, just those little times where the crowd intersects with the players, there's something it's missing, and it's weird. And
well, the home field advantage will be taken away on third down in football for sure, right? That's over.
Sure. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about football.
Quiet football.
From the standpoint of just, it's like, if baseball can't keep people from contracting the virus, and the NBA seems to maybe have it figured out with the bubble, other than when they let people leave the bubble. So, I don't know how football is going to do that. And if the players are changing, if they go to 100-man rosters, because that's how many guys are contracting it, and then, hey, maybe it'll be a really good place for science to take hold, because we'll figure out whether, these guys got it in September. Do they get it again in November?
Bill Cole is our guest. He is Cole Roofing. I just to show you, I get back on the bike. I have the Cole Roofing mug. This is the one I spilled over all of my equipment last week as I was dumping coffee out of my board upside down. It was. It's really good that I wasn't live streaming, dude. That would really have. That would have been one of those moments that would have been widely shared all over the world. And how this relates to politics, right? Like, I saw the Mississippi governor on Tuesday say, "Now I want college football down here, y'all, so y'all wear a mask." And I'm thinking to myself, where the hell were you in March, man? Like, the whole notion that this should have been gone by June 1 in our country because we all stayed in the house for 6 weeks and the disease died off, the whole notion of doing it that way now, and it worked everywhere else in the world, seems like the hour into the movie that you're trying to go back to the beginning of the movie when, when the pandemic arrived on our shores. I mean, this thing's pretty full-fledged at this point and pretty full-throated at this point. And the notion that the people that were never going to wear masks are suddenly going to wear masks and we're going to have college – they're going to play college football in 3 weeks. They really are. Like, the thing I've noticed about this, Bill, now that baseball has started and the Marlins, by the way, I have no idea who drove the Marlins bus back to Florida, by the way, with all the infected players. Still wondering that. I know who drove the bus over here the other night for them to play. But through all of this, the noise of all of this, there comes the notion of, like, how many tests are being used, what does it mean for government, but more than that, they're not going to stop. Nothing's going to stop baseball. I have said it's now no matter what, right? John McClain, the great venerable John McClain, 40 years covering the NFL, said to me on Monday, someone's going to have to die for them to stop the league. Like, I don't know what to say, Bill. Like, Doug Peterson's a coach.
I don't even know if I'm not sure that'll stop them either, right?
Wow. Okay.
Well, as disturbing as that is, I mean, they'll go to the underlying conditions and, like, he should have known better. He should. They'll make him into a hero, right? A martyr. Like,
well, they made the Marlins into, those dirty birds, those bad, naughty guys went to a girly bar. What do you think's going to happen with Earl Thomas once he shows up? I mean, seriously. It's like these guys are going to be in a bubble. I mean, there's no way they're going to keep these teams clean. And you know what they're going to do, Bill? They're going to compromise their integrity. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line can't play. Just play somebody else and get Mahomes killed. Don't scratch them. We'll move that game to the back. They'll do anything. Well, 26 of our 32 teams are clean. Let them go play. It's just the 6:30 teams that we just give them the week off, That's what they're going to do. And I was not convinced of that. I was convinced once 18 of the 30 Florida Marlins had the plague that it would shut the sport down, the way Rudy Gobert shut it down 7 months ago. They're not shutting down. They are now into no matter what. The money is coming in. The checks are rolling every 2 weeks. Rob Manfred ain't got the virus, so neither does Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's something to be learned from watching all of this. Like, maybe the public, they pay attention and it's more real for them to understand what we're combating. Maybe it sends the wrong message. I don't know, that you should just go no matter what and it'll be okay. Is that the message that's being
I would just say this.
out?
If 18 of your 30 employees at Cole Roofing have tested positive and my roof's got a leak from the storm the other day from Izias, I still can't pronounce it. It's over with.
Yeah,
it's another poll. The 12 healthy employees you have, you're sending one of them to my house today, I'd like to know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. Like, if that's how dirty your company is, maybe you really need to suspend operations beyond that point. And instead of sending me roofers who've never been on a roof and making me pay for it today, which is what they're doing with the Miami Marlins beat the Orioles with half a team on Tuesday night that weren't in the major leagues. I don't even know what that says about the Orioles, but I do know it says that that if your bar contracts COVID, you spray it down and you open up on Friday. I would hear that in the real world. In the sports world, where we're not providing anything other than bad television at this point with Scott Garceau, I really do question what they're trying to do. And I don't think they're going to shut it down. I mean, if 5 teams had the virus, 2 teams now have pretty much had a pretty good run at it, and we're only 10 days into the season, right? The NFL is going to take that lead and just say, the Bears are off this week. They just don't play this week. We'll tell the Cardinals to stay home and the Bears to stay home. We're going to play the other 15 games on the circuit. And that's what they're going to do to get through the season. And they're going to say, well, the Colts only played 13 games because they had the plague for 3 weeks. We'll just percentage them out and we'll start the playoffs on January 9th. That's how they're going to I didn't think that's how they were going to do it. I thought they were going to be like, oh, my God, it's a health risk. It's an OSHA violation for all of our employees. We can't have all of our employees getting the plague. Nah, we're testing them at the front door. Don't worry about it. Bring them on in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of talk out in the political sphere about the liability around contracting the virus. And I don't think that part of the universe has really settled itself out yet.
Well, Herman Cain signed the papers and he's dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his family's not suing the
But
Trump, the Tulsa rally people. You know what I mean? Like, there'd be no convincing anybody that he got it there. Right?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, it pushes everyone to this place where you've got to make decisions that we otherwise don't feel qualified to make, right? Like, if there's a risk, someone smarter than us tells us what the risk is, and then typically leadership, government, your parents, your grandparents, people wiser than you tell you how to operate with understanding that risk.
Was this like when you ate a bologna sandwich down at Rocky Point and your parents told you had to wait 15 minutes to get in the water because you get cramps and die? That sort of wisdom? That sort of science?
Yes, although this seems a little more severe than that. But yes, I mean, if you got cramps and you drown, that's pretty serious. So
I heard that happened to Johnny over in Berkshire last month. Right?
Yeah.
You hear that story. I don't know of anyone that ever went in the water after eating a sandwich and cramped and died, but every kid was told that. So they were told about Santa Claus too. So you get this wisdom from that sort of thing. I don't know where the wisdom is with this. If I walk out the door today, how much risk am I taking on by not wearing a mask versus wearing a mask?
Well, so in our organization, the data set is incomplete and small, but enough where we're building some confidence around the ideas that if you do wear your mask and socially distance and wash your hands and use hand sanitizer, you truly are limiting your potential for contraction.
And I believe that, by the way. I'm a guy who fully believes in the science part of if you sneeze or speak, that you are expectorating and said mist will provide a virus, right? We're not arguing that how the pathogen transmits.
I also don't know, and this now I'm totally amateur speculation here, but like there's something around the intensity of the particles, right? Or like how much of it you get.
Correct. And how it goes directly into your lungs versus into your eyes versus into your bloodstream. Correct.
Yeah, and I just know, I mean, our data set is based on our guys working on job sites where a plumber or an electrician or some other trade, some guy tests positive, maybe 2 or 3 other guys from that company then test positive, but all my guys are fine, right? Now, we're up on the roof, we're outside in the sunshine, wind blowing, we have lots of hand sanitizer, we wear masks, we socially so I don't have data that says, oh yeah, none of that stuff works, so why bother, right?
But if Joe on the roof lines up with COVID today, it didn't come from the roof because it may have come from the supermarket or the bar he was in last night, right? And then he brings it and gives it to Jim, who gives it to Bob, who gives it to Susie, right? Like that's how this is happening, right? Nobody's living in a bubble anywhere. So to think that baseball players were going to live in a bubble while in a hotel in Philadelphia on an airplane from Miami is a little foolish, right? I mean, it's hard enough one-to-one that my wife and I are rubbing down boxes when they show up, keeping our shoes in the hall. We know just doing those kinds of basic little things you think about that they've been thinking about in Asia forever. They don't wear shoes in the houses. They take their own trash away because they believe trash and shoes and dirt are like part of what you don't take to your neighbor's house. You know what I mean? Like it's more of a societal issue there, certainly in Japan, where if there are no trash cans in Japan because they expect you to take your trash with you. Not expect you to, they demand you to. It's against the law to leave your trash anywhere else.
I think that we are, as a society, trying to, create the risk equation around this. And in the absence of really strong leadership, and that's not just a shot at the president, that's at all of the leadership that continues to send mixed messages to people, and are using every political combatant weapon they can, in the absence of strong leadership, we are all left to try and make our own decisions. Some people who recently, had their little world bubble bursted, they are really upset and don't even want to have to think about this stuff. Other people are leaning in and trying to figure it out and solving for it and entrepreneuring around it, or whatever they're doing. But as a society, we're trying to build the risk equation. We have lots of those other ones. It's okay to jump off a diving board as long as the pool is deep enough. It's okay to drive 55, 65 miles an hour if I wear a seatbelt. There's definitely risk there. We all know that. But this is a risk that we've all agreed to take. This doesn't work like that. And we continue, and I think sports is part of it. Like, if sports is going to play and players are actively contracting the disease, are we supposed to be afraid of this disease? Like, is that really a trade-off that we're willing to make? So if it's worth contracting the disease so that I can just play sports, should I be afraid of this thing? Like, why aren't the kids going back to school? Like, the Marlins, like their entire team, right? Like, so that's all makes it confusing. And when nobody comes out and actually lays it out for us and talks in a way that the world understands, and the people from the left and the people from the right and the people from the wealthy and the people from the poor, and when we can't come up with a line of talk that represents all of them and makes sense, then we're left to try and figure it out on our own. And I'm not an epidemiologist.
Bill Cole is here. He's not an epidemiologist, but he does good roofing work. 100 years, now 101 years at Cole Roofing. He is our guest here. You can find them and all that they do at Gordian Energy out, especially with solar, out at coleroofing.com. You mentioned it in a way of like going back in time and into the Wayback Machine. The most disgusting part of all of this is that there was a pandemic playbook. We are the richest country in the world. We are the most scientifically advanced culture in the history of mankind. We did see this coming. We do understand what COVID is. We did see that there could be a virus without a cure and a pathogen. We had a playbook for it. And then we have the world's leading epidemiologist, Dr. Anthony Fauci. And then we just, as a society, took everything that science and lifetimes of information have put together, and millions, if not trillions of dollars in CDC and pandemic research, and we put a knucklehead in charge of the country, and now 7 months later, it's like Anthony Fauci every day would be very, very, it would be on point for him to say, we had a plan for this, and I've worked my whole life for this plan. 30 years we've had this plan, and the plan's never changed because the virus was never going to change, and here was the plan, and you guys didn't listen to the plan, and now you're trying to go back and redo the first shot, on the tee, and you already took the first shot, and the ball landed where it landed, and we don't get mulligans when it comes to pandemics. We don't get redos when it comes to that. So the notion that all of the best information, research, strategy was literally thrown out the door the minute the plane crashed, that is the shame of all of this, Bill, because it really does feel to me in my little pea-brain scientific mind that this really could have been avoided, because it's been avoided in a lot of places around the world by strong leadership, by following everything we know about science. Many of these people are following American science, American ideals, money that was spent in American universities and American medical institutions to tell the world how to react when this were to happen. And in other places, they've used our science and they've moved on, and they have a relatively functioning economy and GDP, and don't have overwhelmed hospitals and overwhelmed ventilators, and a leader who gets up every single day and lies to the people to make something that looks like 150,000 deaths look like it doesn't exist. Waking up to that every day is really, really heavy for all of us, Bill. And then I sit here and watch baseball and see these guys test positive. And every time there's a positive test, I think to myself, this didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to happen here, but it did.
So I think that's a really long conversation.
That's next week. Next week on WNST.
Yeah, I mean, I would challenge some of it.
Well, we knew that everybody wasn't going to listen in March, right?
Well, I mean, our hospitals aren't overwhelmed and our ventilators aren't overwhelmed. So
they are in several states, but yes.
I'm not sure they're overwhelmed. I think there's lots of things that are concerning, right? And there are many times where we're right on the precipice of it being disastrous, and some people out there are rooting for disaster. And that's what spirals the conversation. So,
it doesn't take much to get a real disaster. Look at Beirut Tuesday, right? I mean,
oh my God,
okay,
so unbelievable.
That's a disaster. But go ahead.
But again, I would say there is valid stuff in what you said. It's a really longer conversation to understand. Could it have been prevented? What I think we could agree on.
We'll spend the rest of our life talking about that, right? By the way,
sure.
Yeah, we will.
Well, what I think we can agree on is in August, whatever. The fact that you go try and get a test, and in some places it takes 10 days to get it back. In other places it takes 2 days to get it back. In other places it takes a day to get it back. Some places will let you swab your mouth.
Oh, by the way, the Marlins got theirs back in time to get the game in on Tuesday night, right? So, I mean,
we can certainly agree on the fact that at this late stage, 6 months in or whatever we are, if you're telling me that we haven't figured out a way as a country to standardize that and get that as a text message in 5 minutes after you take your test, we really aren't interested. We're really just not interested in managing it. My sense is the testing is what helps you manage it, and I need to know that fast enough before this person then goes out into the world for 10 days and infects a whole bunch of other people.
I love how you just summed the whole conversation. We're not interested in managing it. That's the quote for this story, right? That is the story. We're not interested in managing it. The leadership is interested in burying it, right? The concept of it. The leadership is interested in not discussing it.
And they're interested. Some are interested in not discussing it. Some are interested in using it as political leverage to advance other causes that they otherwise find hard to get advanced.
Like an FBI building or something like that.
Yeah, whatever, right? All that stuff. I mean, whether I want it, whether I think it's a good idea or not, regardless, those are the two tactics. It's I don't want to really manage this. What also concerns me is the inequity, not only in society from the haves and the have-nots, right? That's terrible and getting worse. But also this concept that in our country, we are now accepting significant inequality between states. And what happens when you're in Maryland and you want to test versus when you're in North Carolina and you want to test? Or what's acceptable behavior in the face of a pandemic in Alabama versus what's acceptable behavior in Massachusetts? And I realize that every state is different, and we have, the state concept is a 200 plus, 300-year-old concept for us.
And by the way, it's not working very well when it comes to policing or education, right? Overall, the local concept of policing and education when the whole country's in crisis financially, in every way, it really the first place we want to cut everything is, cops, educate, the stuff that comes out of the county budget, the stuff that comes out of the local county tax, mayor, city hall fund. Those are the places this stuff gets cut. Man, it's a mess. It's a mess.
I mean, I believe that localities are by default in the best position to manage, their local area
until they can't afford it.
Well, but when you're talking about a global pandemic and one of the functions of the government is to keep us safe, the federal government, then I just think I can't believe that, if I spend 2 hours on the telephone, I can have a better outcome from a test than if I just go to the nearest testing spot.
He is Bill Cole. He is Cole Roofing. Next week, we're going to discuss the meaning of life and various other things.
No, I don't.
All right, so
I very much question the meaning of life at this point. Right?
I've been asking this question because you're a Ravens fan, and you've been on my trips, and we've been friends forever. In regard to going to games, give me the Bill Cole crystal ball for football. Like, what do they play a football game on September 13th in Baltimore against the Cleveland Browns? Does that happen?
I think it has to.
Okay. And do you
think that
there is a Super Bowl on Sunday, February the 7th? Does that exist?
Oof, man, February is so far away. I can't even think past September right now.
Might have a different president by then. Better.
I'm going to say yes, they play a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. So you think they're going to get through the season?
Yeah.
Then you're subscribing them. No matter what. Because there will be teams infected, there will be breakouts, there will be problems, there will be star players, there will be offensive lines. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced there's no way they're going to get through it without forfeiture, with integrity. I keep going back to the word of baseball's already destroyed their integrity, right? Like, they are playing a barnstorming exhibition. What Don Moeller called a week and a half ago a Little League tournament. The Marlins are unavailable on Monday. We'll play the Angels on Monday. We'll just send them over. Yeah, we'll send them down to field 3 after 1 o'clock, after lunch.
Right.
It's a Little League tournament. The hockey thing I can't even take seriously. I don't know what the hell they're doing finishing last year's thing. But the notion that you're going to have a whole season and a real season, there's going to be a champion, there's going to be playoffs, and there's going to be drama, and we're going to talk about it week to week. The NFL is getting closer and closer to trying to pull that off. I do believe because they only play once a week, it's going to be easier to turn the boats for them. And the integrity part is the question for everyone. How much do you want to let the food slip? Right? How bad do you want to allow your product to be and still sanction it and call it Major League Baseball or call it the NFL? I think the NFL is going to go through with this now. A couple weeks ago, I would have told you a couple of positive tests. Lamar Jackson's mother gets it. I don't think they care about Lamar Jackson's mother. I don't think they care about any of these guys' wives, children. I think they care that the game is 1 o'clock on Sunday. Can we get 46 warm-bodied human beings to play? Can we unleash the taxi squad? It's the NFL. Guys get hurt here all the time, man. We have broken necks. We have broken legs. We have broken everything. What's a little pathogen? We're just going to play through. So I'm pretty convinced they're going to play now. I'm not convinced I'm going to get on a plane and fly to Houston to see them play in week 2. I don't know that I'm in an empty stadium I don't know that I'm doing that, but I'm convinced they're going to play.
So, and this is a question for you, but I don't know what the press is doing. Do they let the press box open up at baseball games?
Yes. Luke, they've allowed a handful of people in. Not me, of course, not people of my skin color, but they let Luke in for baseball. Football, I think there's 10 people that are going to be able to see practice, that if I really wanted to go out and see a practice, I could organize it for a certain day based on getting tested and doing all that. And I'm wondering why I would want to bother to, I'm not a conscientious objector. I just I like talking to people. I like talking to players. I'm out there to talk to human beings. I'm out there to glean something. I'm not out there to watch them run around and shoulder pad. Luke's going to go out there from time to time, but as far as the game itself, I think they would credential me and allow me to come and allow me to sit somewhere 6 feet away. I'm 6 weeks away from knowing that, and I'm questioning as to whether I would walk 3 blocks over to the football stadium. I don't know. I
think,
feel funky about
yeah.
them sanctioning all of this in so many ways because I just don't think it's safe, and I don't think it's smart, and I don't think it has integrity. There's so many things about it that are unappealing to me, and it's not
How many?
unappealing on theory. It's unappealing on I'm watching the games every night, and it's not any good.
Right.
Guy Fieri reruns are better.
How many? How many football coaches are over the age of 65?
Several.
A bunch, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
that'll be
over the age of
interesting.
50 would be, and in poor health. Have you seen Romeo Crennel? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Sure.
have you seen Rex
So
Ryan? Have
so
you
that's
seen his
pretty
brother?
scary for all
Yeah.
them. I think if I put my hat on and tried to be the NFL or a coach or a league official, whatever, like they're looking at hospital workers and construction workers and grocery store operators, and they're saying, you know what, if they can go out and do it every day, why can't we? And why shouldn't we? Right? I mean, people want what we have. Maybe we're the inspiration that helps people who are suffering from depression and just can't get over the hump of how miserable their life is. You know, maybe we give those people hope. And you know what? If you can voluntarily not participate, so we appreciate that. We respect that decision. But we're going to go try and play football because people want it, and we're giving a service to them. I mean, that has to be like what the meeting went like, right? I mean, that's what they had to sit around and say.
And how much money
We
can
got
we
to
make?
do this for the people.
And who can we attract to do this? Well, I mean, the opt-outs, the Patriots have decided not to play, right? I mean, the Patriots players have just all opted out. So they don't – so right off the bat, along with the Cleveland Browns, you have another team not trying in the NFL, right? So how many of the teams won't try? But on a yearly basis, there are 6 or 8 teams that aren't trying. Major League Baseball, the Orioles haven't been trying for 3 years to win. You know, we're talking about trying to win. Not just we're going to show up at the gate and they're going to, you know, the horses are going to run, right? Like, there's always a bit of that in sports anyway. So to buy into, well, we're going to play without C.J. Mosley, we play without Joe Namath around here. We'll play without him too, you know? So
Right.
that is the notion of football. So next man up. Bill Cole does roofs, and he does solar, and he's been my friend, and he's a good dude. And it was completely his fault that the coffee from his mug dumped all over my board last week. Tell everybody what you do. Give him an elevator speech, man.
Let's see, 101-year-old commercial roofing company, everything from leaks to roof replacements, think of shopping centers, hospitals, schools, office buildings, any of the sort. And then we also really like to engage in discussions about what it looks like to put solar on after we put a roof on to help people save money. I think it's important right now. There's a lot of disruption, and we don't really know where the world's moving. And the only word of advice, and it is completely self-serving, but hear me out, is like, if you have a roof problem, don't neglect it. Like, we need to address it sooner rather than later. Those problems, grow if you leave them unattended. So my suggestion is, even though you might not know what you want to do with your space, or things might be changing and evolving, if there's water coming in, it needs to be addressed. So, and we're happy to help.
This is the point where I make the joke that used to be at Nacho Mama's that says, Cole Roofing, they take leaks seriously. And
right.
Yeah, you've seen that picture.
Yep.
I am texting you over literally on your phone. It'll be on your ear right now. A picture of and you can pull it off your ear and look at it if you want. I'll hold it up for the audience so they can see. I took this picture at Longwood Gardens last week, and for everybody can see on the thing, it's like a tree, but it's a solar tree. I want you to look at it and explain to me. The thing looked to be maybe 15, 20 feet high, maybe 30 feet high. I mean, I don't know. It was a big tree, and my wife looked at it, and she's like, that's for solar. That's running stuff out here. And I'm like, well, how the hell do I get one of those? And I'm going to tell Bill about that. So I just texted you because I took it last Thursday. We were on an anniversary date up at Longwood Gardens, and I swore I would send it to you. Does that look familiar to you, to like anything you do?
I have seen a number of products like that. I don't think I've ever seen that exact version of it.
Well,
I
it's
think
from a Willy Wonka Disney World Arbor.
Yes.
You know, it's a beautiful place, and it's sort of blended in. But my wife looked at it, and she said, that's solar. And I'm like, is that really? I'll be damned, is what I said.
It is. There's some functionality, but a lot of it is sort of how do we integrate this clean energy functionality into ways that we find, artistic and pleasing to the eye. So it's fun like that. At the same time, it's creating energy, and it's not.
I know what you're saying. I can put
that.
that on your roof. You don't need to have it look so pretty.
Well, it's really what your objective is, right?
Sure.
So you take that thing and you put that out front of your office building or your facility, to represent the fact that, hey, look, we're a clean energy company, or we're a green company, or something. So you can promote that because they can't actually see all the panels up on the roof.
Yeah,
right, but I can build the panels up on the roof more cost effectively and, actually have a real meaningful impact. So, yeah, they're fun.
All right, well, I just want to show you that. I'm just letting you know that I'm always looking out for, the solar thing. And at some point, you'll take all my land, and I'll be powering half of Hampton Valley with it. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on this week. Appreciate the sponsorship. Sorry that the mug got knocked over and you got blamed for it, but, it's
I understand. I get blamed for a lot of stuff.
Collateral damage, man.
Right. I appreciate you, man. I enjoyed it.
Cole Roofing, ColeRoofing.com, and Gordian Energy. You can find them 410-242-0600. I can get you in touch with Bill Cole, Billy at ColeRoofing.com. I am Nestor, Nasty at WNST.net. Towson, Baltimore, AM 1570. Calm, local, and always Baltimore positive.